Hi everyone, this is John Pater, and today I'm going to speak about the second incarnation of the Earth, which is known as Old Sun. Firstly, how can awareness and evolution be understood? Now, all of external nature, the mountains, the earth, the land, the seas, the plant life, our human physical form, can all be regarded as Maya. But on a higher level of reality, these are all aspects of spiritual beings, which are all evolving, and all these in turn are particular aspects of self or awareness. At each human stage, awareness pours itself in to the various sheaths which have been prepared through evolution to receive it, thereby providing the human being the opportunity to abide in self, such as what Ramana Maharishi taught. And what we're doing here is just to examine these particular aspects of self and the interrelationships between these aspects of self. The first incarnation of the earth is called Old Saturn, and is where the human being first received the physical body in the form of warmth structures. And when Saturn reached its full potential, it then dissolved into a seed-like state called Pralaya. I'd like to just illustrate this with a diagram. Now, as you can see, we have the first incarnation of the earth called Old Saturn, just a name. Warmth was the quality that was developed here, and which we, as human beings, received our first traces of the physical body which we have now. And then we move on to another state called Old Sun, which I'm going to speak about today. Now, Old Sun first emerged out of the state of Pralaya and raised human beings to a higher level of consciousness than had been achieved on Old Saturn. In the first minor period, there was a small repetition of what had been achieved on Old Saturn, but on a higher level. Here, human beings began to develop through their own capacities to repeat their previous stage of development, and appeared as ensouled mechanical manifestations of personality that they had reached at the end of Old Saturn. But now they had the additional capacity to receive an etheric or life body. The higher beings who had previously worked within Old Saturn had also evolved higher capacities and had participated in this repetition. The spirits of wisdom now were sufficiently mature where they bestowed and detached a part of their own etheric bodies, which then streamed into and interpenetrated the human physical warmth bodies. Life began. So the human beings, who only consisted of warmth structures, acquired the etheric bodies, and through this the physical bodies were raised to the second level of perfection, as they now could be the vehicle for etheric or life bodies, similar to what the plants have today. Present-day human physical bodies are now at the fourth level of perfection, where they have been perfected to the point where these physical bodies which we have now could receive the I or awareness consciousness. As the life body was being poured into the human being, Old Sun began to shine, life began. Then, during the first small period of rest, the human being, which consisted of a physical body permeated by a life body as a single entity, now separated into a dual entity, consisting of a separate life body and a separate physical body, which was then permeated by the life body. Now there are 7 minor stages in each incarnation of the earth, At the end of these minor stages, there is a small period of rest. These periods became more distinct as Earth evolution progressed through these stages. At the present time, the Earth is in its 4th minor stage. There'll be 3 more to go before the next incarnation of the Earth occurs. The division into a separate life body and a separate physical body allowed the spirits of movement to interpenetrate the human life bodies with their own astral bodies. That is, the human physical body, or the human being, then appeared as though it was alive with consciousness, but in reality, it was the consciousness of the spirits of movement. So these human etheric bodies then acquired the ability to carry out inner movements similar to the movement of sap, as in the present-day plants. The warmth substance gradually condensed to the gaseous state or air, whereby human physical bodies had warmth structures which now incorporated moving shapes of air. The constantly changing gaseous shapes assumed permanent forms when the forces from the spirits of form flowed into these human life bodies. At the midpoint of old sun evolution, the spirits of personality, the Archai, who had achieved human consciousness on old Saturn, now acquired a higher pictorial consciousness which perceived the soul's spiritual element in clear, objective images. The gaseous shapes reflected the pictorial images back to them, and hence they beheld spiritually the events taking place on old sun. The seraphim, or spirits of love, caused love to permeate these pictorial images. The seraphim, who are the highest in the angelic hierarchy, work together with the spirits of personality so as to introduce the first signs of reproduction and the glandular system within these human germinal beings. Now, some beings in the evolutionary processes just do not reach their evolutionary goal at that particular time, and they need different conditions to progress. So there were these germinal human beings and spirits of personality who remained behind at the old Saturn stage. The germinal human beings remained behind as warmth. The warmth divided into 2 parts. One part of the warmth was taken up by the normally developing human beings. And through the interplay with this warmth, the spirits of fire, or archangels, were able to raise themselves up to the human level through becoming aware of themselves, through the reflection of their I in this warmth element, similar to what happened to the spirits of personality on old Saturn when they achieved their human stage. The backward spirits of personality withdrew the other part of the warmth element into a new cosmic body, a new Saturn, which orbited old Sun, whereby they could catch up on their previous lack of development in a similar way to what the normal spirits of personality achieved on old Saturn. Now you have the reason why there are planets orbiting even our existing Sun, where there are beings working to catch up perhaps what they should have achieved previously. The warmth substances flowed back to the germinal human beings, enabling them to achieve a dim perception of the various degrees of heat. The spirits of fire, in working with warmth, which intermingle with the human physical bodies, further developed the germinal human sense organs. After a long period of rest, the human ether body became sufficiently mature to permit a joint effort with the sons of life and or angels or devas and the spirits of harmony, cherubim, for manifestations comparable to taste to arise to the spiritual vision. And outwardly, this was expressed as sound. Now here, the sons of life achieved a dull-like picture consciousness, similar to that of our present dreaming. After the next small period of rest, the germinal human beings matured to the point where from their own forces they could have inner perceptions comparable to smell, and outwardly this activity expressed itself similar to that of plants, giving the impression of personality. The initial beginnings of life spirit, or buddhi, was implanted into the etheric bodies. Now, buddhi is a higher principle which will arise when we as human beings in the distant future have consciously transformed our etheric bodies and made them our own. Now, after the last small period of rest, and through the intervention of the spirits of wisdom, human beings became capable of the first beginnings of feelings, expressing themselves in the perception of smell and manifesting outwardly as a kind of primitive speech or sound, which was either in sympathy or in antipathy. As with the old Saturn stage, the spiritual beings and our ancestral humanity on Old Sun had evolved to what was possible and what had been planned for, and they now withdrew into higher states to assimilate what they had gained. As such, a major period of rest came about, or pralaya, whereby everything achieved and gained during the Old Sun stage disappeared and was taken up into a seed-like condition. The gaseous state which first became apparent on Old Sun, which in reality is Maya, is in its inner reality the result of the bestowing of virtue by higher spiritual beings. In the next talk, I'll talk about the next incarnation of the Earth, which is called the Old Moon stage, before the Earth proper began. Thank you.